And hello, everybody, and welcome to a special segment for the No Buts About It show here on YouTube. We just had an amazing Thursday Night Football, but we're not here to talk about Thursday Night Football today on September 30th. We're here to talk about Jets, the New York Jets. I'm here with Stan, the Jet fan, here today, and we're going to be talking about all sorts of different things, but more or less we're going to be focusing on one person and one person in particular that he really wanted to talk about and I really wanted to know a lot about. So, Stan, man, we've been talking a lot about this. What is your opinion about Zach Wilson here? And like going with the game tomorrow and stuff like that. What is your honest opinion of Zach Wilson? Because I'm sure Jets fans are not real happy with what they're seeing from him.
So you remember my opinion from the past. I was really open to Zach Wilson. I was excited for him. And I thought that he has a future just sitting behind Aaron Rodgers and eventually getting some play time. After seeing what he's done so far this season, I think that's a terrible idea. I think he should be out of the league, quite frankly. And I think just like statistically, look at him, look at what he's done. Like if you remember Jamarcus Russell from when we were in that was third grade or something. Jamarcus Russell has basically the same stats as Zach Wilson. I mean, they've both thrown about the same amount of interceptions, touchdown interception ratio these past few years. And the big difference between those two is that Jamarcus Russell, the reason he failed was because he was lazy. He didn't try. He didn't work hard. Zach Wilson out here is working hard. He's watching film. He's studying the game. And still he's unable in his third year to show anything for it. So I think, quite frankly, I think Zach Wilson is not an NFL-level quarterback. And I think he's going to be another one in the list of Manziel, Russell, and other quarterbacks who just could not make it work in the big league.
Yeah, no, I mean, a lot of people are saying that like he could be considered one of those big bust players. Do you think he is like one of those per se bust players? I mean, I don't know where you would put him on that spectrum. So obviously you said he's not NFL worthy. Do you think he's like not NFL worthy as in like a starting quarterback, or do you think he could be a backup, or do you think he's just like a complete bust altogether?
Well, you mentioned that Thursday Night Football game, and one of the things for the Lions that works really well is they have a really good quarterback room. There's three people in that room who stand out, right? You have the bona fide starter, the guy who everyone knows is going to come out every single week, put up good numbers. You have a veteran backup, and the third guy you have in that room there is a really, really young guy in a hooker who hopefully in the future can turn out into being a great quarterback. Right now, the Jets don't have anyone in those roles, and I think I don't think Zach Wilson is going to be that veteran quarterback player. And clearly, at this point in time, he's not going to develop into anyone. So I just don't think he has a role in any quarterback room. I would not be surprised to see him kind of bouncing around the league for a little bit after he finishes his time with the Jets, but I just don't see teams that would want to take a risk on him, especially when you have guys like Minshew, who, think about a Minshew, a Bridgewater, who's going to retire soon, but those types of players, they have so much more upside. With Wilson, when he does play, when he's on the field, he's really not serviceable. He's below the average backup quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I haven't seen a whole lot from Wilson either. That's why I wanted to ask you for your opinion, because, a lot like I have no words even to say like the hype that I had for the Jets going into the season. Obviously, it's so unfortunate that Aaron Rodgers had to go down with an injury. Obviously in week 1, Zach Wilson showed maybe a little bit of promise, but not a ton. And then week 2 and 3, he just looked like that same Zach Wilson that we saw, last season. And, it brings up that question about like, do you think like, obviously, and you had answered it, like if you, with being a bust and stuff. And I mean, it's a common thing, in the NFL with like all these quarterback busts and stuff. But, for somebody that like teams were so high on with Zach Wilson, it's just really unfortunate,
Yeah. I know, one thing that I've been doing, I still watch every Jets game, but to kind of tide me over so I'm not depressed 24/7, I've turned myself into a bit of a Steelers fan this year. And I've been loving watching Pickett. I think I told you, I've sent you a few texts. I'm loving these games. I love the Steelers offense. And while they're quite a young offense, especially with Pickett, I got to ask you, what is your future for Pickett? What do you see him doing?
Wow. Oh man. Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, first you throw me with, you've been an honorary Steelers fan, but second of all, you got to ask, you asked me about Kenny Pickett. Wow. So, Kenny Pickett, the thing about Kenny is, and I've mentioned this on the shows before, and to those of you who don't really have watched the show before, I'm a big Kenny Pickett fan. I've been watching him since Pitt in like 2017 when Max Brown went down and Kenny Pickett ended up being the starter later on that season. So I've watched a lot of Kenny Pickett footage, and I've watched this guy. And at first, it took him a little bit to develop in college. And I think that's what's happening right now in the NFL. I think it's taken him just a little bit to get ready. I mean, he's not going to need like 3.5 years to be, ready to get rolling. I mean, at Pitt, like he was having decent seasons. It was just, he was hurt a lot of times. But in 2021, like he was, Heisman candidate. I think he got third place. Like, I mean, it's not like this guy is somebody that you want to like, just like push over and be like, oh, this guy's not going to be relevant. I think Kenny Pickett has all the potential in the world to be a really good quarterback. I think all the players around him are very, very good. I think he shows, strokes of like Terry Bradshaw in a way. And I know some people might take that as like a hot take, but like Terry Bradshaw was getting booed and he was so disliked way back in, in like years and years ago. He was getting booed and stuff like that. And like the Steelers fans did not want him, but they kept, he kept pushing and eventually, we know the history of Terry Bradshaw. He won us multiple Super Bowls. So nonetheless, I mean, I don't know if Kenny Pickett will win us like multiple Super Bowls. Like I don't want to put it on that level, but I think Steelers fans are jumping the gun a little bit too much on Pickett. I think mostly now they're not really focusing too much on the Pickett slander as much as they're focusing on the Matt Canada slander. I think that Kenny Pickett has all the potential in the world to be good, and I think he is that franchise guy as long as he doesn't keep getting concussed and end up like Andrew Luck. I think he does have all that potential in the world to be really good because obviously he had like 2 or 3 concussions, and then he was a little wonky, I think either the San Francisco or the Cleveland game. I don't remember which one, but he went down, he hit his head. He didn't get pulled out for concussion protocol, and he was a little shaky on some of those throws. I think he has all the potential in the world, and I think with allowing him to open up the offense a little bit. I know Matt Canada claims that he allows the plays to be changed and stuff like that, but I think maybe a new offensive coordinator, I think some new schemes and some new plays and stuff would really go a long way. I mean, heck, even in last week's Raiders win, I mean, they changed it up. You could tell that some of these plays were different. Like, I don't think they ran one jet sweep, which is crazy. We ran like 6 jet sweeps a game. And then all of a sudden they hit us with a fake jet sweep. And then then Kenny rolled out and threw a touchdown to Pat Freiermuth, which I mentioned on the last show. But I just think that I think Canada just needs to open up the playbook a little bit more. And I think if he does, I think there's a lot of potential for this season for Kenny Pickett. But if it doesn't end up being the season, I really do think that, he's showing a lot of improvement. That game against the Raiders, he was just reminding me of Pitt. He threw that long bomb, reminded me of Pitt versus Clemson when he threw that long aired out bomb, just looked so comfortable just throwing it all out. He threw it to Calvin Austin III, but it reminded me of Jordan Addison. He was running a lot more. He was just doing a lot more Kenny Pickett, Pitt Panthers stuff. And I was like, this is what I want to see. And I hope that we continue to see it. I don't know what this season's going to look like. I hope for a winning season, which I'm assuming we would just because we haven't had a losing season yet. But I would love to make playoffs. I would love to see what Kenny does in like a wild card game. But for now, we're 2-1. Technically, we're at the top of the division. It's really early on. But yeah, I'm excited for Kenny Pickett. I think he has all the potential to be that franchise guy. Just giving him some time and either letting him get some time to work more with his offensive coordinator, being Canada, which as best as you possibly can do, or next season when he can actually boom and we get like maybe a different offensive scheme.
One of the things I really love about Pickett is he knows how to stick with his decisions. And I think with Zach Wilson, one of the things that really ticks me off is he'll make half a decision and then he'll kind of stutter step. He doesn't know what he's doing. And that leads to, in the last game, there was one play where he sacked himself. Like he fell to the ground. He had like half a hand on him. And Pickett, when I watch him play, I see a bit more confidence, at least in the sense that he knows how to stick with his mistakes. And doing that allows you to make the mistakes a lot less detrimental. So I really love Pickett, and I love watching him play.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think I really liked his playing style at Pitt, and I think that 2021 season, even though it was in the midst of COVID and it was his super senior year because of the whole COVID rule for the NCAA, I really think Kenny Pickett has come into his own, and I think he showed a lot of promise last year. But I think like in those first 2 games, I mean, we were playing some dominant defenses. I mean, Cleveland doesn't have a defense that you want to like just push over. They have a really good pass rush. And I mean, obviously San Francisco hasn't lost a game since Brock Purdy started, except for that NFC Championship game. I mean, dude hasn't lost a season game. So I mean, like their team is just something else. But I think with Kenny Pickett getting those games out of the way, I think that there's a lot of room for improvement this season, and I think we're going to see that, and I think even next season we'll see it too, because Steelers aren't bad. And which actually reminds me, since we were talking about quarterbacks and futures and stuff like that, what do you think the quarterback room looks for you guys going forward? I mean, you guys signed Trevor Siemian. Like, do you bail on Zach Wilson at the end of the season? Like, is Aaron Rodgers, like, what are you guys doing, like, even going forward, looking like long term? Like, what are you looking at?
I think we probably need to get someone in the second round, third round quarterback. Really a Jordan Love type of pick. Someone who could at least show some potential for the future. Maybe not for a starter, but for a role. I think with Zach Wilson, I think we're done. I mean, statistically speaking, this season has been by far his worst. And his O-line, statistically speaking, especially if you give any credence to PFF scores, he's had one of his best O-lines, and the O-line's been performing pretty well for him. He's had good tight ends this year, which that was one thing that I was talking about. I was like, I need to see more tight ends for the Jets. So he has those easy check down passes, but he's not making those. So I think it is time to move on from Wilson. With Siemian, I think he has a lot of potential just as that veteran backup for the Jets. I don't think he's going to be, a starter, of course, in any way. I think my ideal situation is next year we run with Aaron Rodgers as a starter if he is able to give us that last season. Siemian as his backup, and then a third guy, a rookie quarterback, some guy we can pick up and hopefully run with in the future after Rodgers. For this season, I don't want to see Wilson start. I want to see Trevor start out the gates tomorrow for that prime time game. I think realistically speaking, I think we might see Wilson play 2, maybe 3 quarters and then get benched if he hasn't shown anything. But I really think that's what we saw last season with Wilson, where he'd start the games and he would rarely finish them, and he just get pulled off, and some backup would go and throw way better than him. So I do think it's about time we move on from him. With the Jets, I think despite my love for this front office and what they've done, I think the quarterback room has been really, really bad. I mean, we had Mike White, a guy who played really well for us, and then he goes only for $8 million to the Dolphins, right? $8 million guaranteed. That's it. We could have easily done that. Instead, we get a guy like Dalvin Cook, despite already having 4 other running backs for who knows what reason. So there was a lot of really weird decisions made where we prioritized other positions. And I think a lot of that came because we were overconfident in Aaron Rodgers. And while, yes, he's a great guy to be confident in, you need to have a plan B. You need to have a backup plan. I really hope the Jets can figure this out right now and either give Steamy that starting position, make sure he's ready, if not this week, at least the next week, so we could still try to compete this season. Aaron Rodgers is already out of his brace, his foot brace, which in like half the time it usually takes. And while I don't have too much confidence in this procedure, I'm also not a doctor. He and his doctor claim that he's going to be back in time for playoffs. So they did some sort of crazy rare surgery, and they're hoping he's going to be back for playoffs. Which, if he is, that means the Jets now have to actually try to make the playoffs. And, you've seen the Dolphins. The Dolphins are looking great. The Patriots are looking, the Patriots. And the Bills are still one of the best teams in the league, right? So we don't have an easy division. If we are going to make the playoffs, we have to win, especially against teams like Kansas City, a team that's going to push us to our limits. So this will be a very interesting game. Kansas City does not have the best defense. They have obviously an amazing offense, but their defense is not the best. So if Trevor can step in and actually make the check down passes, at least give us more than a 3 and out, I think we might stand a chance here. And I'm very excited for that possibility. I think everyone saw that note that was sent by Colin Kaepernick. I don't think that has any realistic chance of happening. I think for Kaepernick, if he was going to make a move, it should have been 4 years ago. He should have signed with the team 4 years ago. But we all remember he had a few ego issues, a little bit too much happening behind the scene. And the last thing the Jets need is someone who's going to go in and mess up the locker room, because it's already a lot of pressure, especially on the wide receivers, on the running back room right now. So we should make sure we're not adding any dangerous people to that group.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was definitely interesting. I saw the letter, and for anybody that didn't see it, Colin Kaepernick wrote a letter to the Jets organization to be the captain of the practice squad and to lead the practice squad. Now, I don't think anything has come up of it. I don't even remember how old Colin Kaepernick is at this point, but I know he is, excuse me, he is a lot older into his career as well. He hasn't played in the NFL for multiple years now, so I don't know if teams would be even willing to take a risk on him at this point just because of him being out of the NFL and, just different things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think you bring up like good points. I mean, I feel like, I really would love to see you guys push for playoffs so that Aaron Rodgers could at least, play in like a wild card game or something like that, especially if they did this crazy surgery. And now, but like, I mean, the Mike White thing bothers me because he was good. And like now he's the backup in Miami. Like he could have literally been your starter just to get you through this season. And I mean, even like bouncing to the Steelers real quick. I mean, you want to talk about like having plan Bs. I mean, like if Kenny Pickett goes down, God forbid, like if, he goes down tomorrow, like with a concussion again, Mitch isn't the best quarterback in the world, but he at least can finish games.
Mm-hmm.
So, and same thing with like if Mitch went down, like if Mitch got hurt or something, Mason Rudolph isn't the best quarterback ever, but he has won us some games. He's also lost us some games. I mean, it's the same thing with Mitch, but they're decent backups. And like with Zach Wilson, I don't know if like as a backup, if you could even trust him to win you games. It might be a situation now where you guys might have to play quarterback carousel again, which really sucks. Cause last season I was getting so frustrated for you guys. Cause that was like the whole let somebody cook thing. Like it just that, and like the Patriots cycling through Mac Jones and Zappy, and then you guys doing Mike White and, Zach Wilson and stuff like that. It just was really disappointing. So I hope that this doesn't happen this year, but it does make me wonder if Zach Wilson will get benched like halfway through the game, on tomorrow, right? It's not Monday night. I don't remember what the Monday night game is, but I think it's tomorrow.
Yeah, so, tomorrow primetime.
Oh, primetime. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with the Chiefs. If your defense can lock down the offense, I mean, just scare them enough. That's what I say for the Jets. Just scare them enough because those Chiefs are very frequent on dropping balls as more recently than I've ever seen in my life. So if you can scare them enough, I think the Jets might have a good chance, especially even if Zach Wilson can't clutch up too much. I mean, we'll see what happens though.
And this is just a hypothetical, but I mean, our defense has been playing well. If you look at our last 18 games, if our offense just put up 24 points, which is the NFL average, we would be 15-3 in the last 18 games. So our defense has been performing very well, has held so many offenses in really tight games. But we just need that last push from the offense. We need we need 1 or 2 touchdowns per game. I know that's a lot to ask, but if we could get to 2 touchdowns tomorrow's game, I'll be happy. That'll be more than Wilson's done before. So,
yeah, and I mean, and you even mentioned like the running backs and like even talk about wide receivers. You guys have good wide receiver room, and on top of that, your running back room is saturated at this point. It's almost like insane because like you said, you have Cook and you still have Hall, and like then you have even players like Israel Bandicana who aren't even getting started, who you guys drafted this year that are like potentially like it. Like I still think Bandicana from Pitt is a sleeper. Like he might be at like one of those just like under the radar type running backs, but I mean, like you have all these running backs, you have all these wide receivers, you can utilize them, but if you don't have a good guy to throw it or manage it, and he just gets sacked by imaginary men on the field and just gets sacked by ghosts, as people have been calling it. It's kind of hard to like put your faith into, Wilson or that quarterback. So, I mean, definitely interesting though, that they've put in so much, energy into like running backs and wide receivers instead of focusing on like, oh, this guy wasn't bad for quarterback. Maybe we should leave him with Zach Wilson. And if Zach Wilson doesn't do good, we just drop him down the depth chart. I mean, they tried with Aaron Rodgers, but
I was going to say, I've loved Bonaconda as a Pitt running back. And I want to ask you about one other Pitt running back, not the college, but the professional team. I've loved Jaylen Warren. I think he has a lot of potential. What are your thoughts on him?
Oh, Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren, the thing about Jaylen Warren that I really like was he's a small guy. I mean, I don't know if you've seen that photo. I mean, it was making waves around the internet probably over the last week, but Darnell Washington is our tight end. And this is just off topic, but then I'll go into my Jaylen Warren thing. But Darnell Washington, 6'8", like 190, 220 maybe. Dude is like massive. He is straight muscle, straight big. Was standing next to Jaylen Warren, like 5'8", like 180. Like, and the picture comparison was just so crazy because it was just, he was a foot taller than Warren. And, it was just such a funny photo. I'll have to send it to you, but it was a really good photo. The reason I bring that up is Jaylen Warren is about my height. So, and I am 5'8" for anybody that doesn't know, but here I am 5'8". Jaylen Warren's about my height, but dude knows how to cut. And like what I mean by cut is like when he goes and gets those things, like he can cut through and just like get those openings. And like they've been utilizing him as like, like on these like passes, and like he like has all the potential in the world to be like that player like Austin Eckler, because Austin Eckler was an undrafted rookie. This guy was an undrafted rookie we signed. And not that Najee Harris isn't good. I mean, granted, he showed a little bit of hope in last week's game against the Raiders. But the problem with Najee is that they don't utilize him right, and they have him run like these routes that like go around the O-line. Like you want to have Jaylen Warren run those.
Mm-hmm.
Najee is that powerhouse running back. And like, granted, for me, I haven't seen like primetime Najee Harris since like his rookie year. I don't really know what happened, and it kind of bums me out because I do really like Najee, but honestly, I really like Jaylen Warren. I think they should utilize him more in that offense. And honestly, I think when it does come time for like them to decide between, Najee Harris or Jaylen Warren, I think they're going to go Warren, just because I think Warren has more upside than Harris does at this given moment, just because like the offense isn't utilizing Najee to his fullest potential, and he hasn't really shown a whole lot. I mean, he shows enough, but I mean, I don't know. I feel like he just keeps getting stuffed, whereas Warren will get us those 6-yard gains. And he's just like he's like a fast little fire plug, I really like Jaylen Warren. I do. And nothing against Najee, but, I think Warren's just shown a lot more promise,
Yeah. And, there's also the possibility of keeping both. I mean, most teams in the NFL are running 2, sometimes 3 running backs in rotation. There's only a few teams I could think of, the Bengals, the Washington football team, Commanders.
One of the 3 names, one of them.
Yeah, the Commanders and the Bengals are the two of the teams who still run primarily 1 running back, but most teams who haven't switched are making that switch to running 2, sometimes 3 running backs, and it works a lot better because the defense has to keep on guessing for the style of the of your attack, and the defense also, they don't know exactly how to plan for 3 different running backs. It's a lot more work you're giving those defensive coordinators on the other team. So I do think if you can keep both of them, why not do that? It also prevents injury in the long run.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, and not only that, but I like obviously with your guys' like running back room, you guys have like so much depth there. So like you guys don't have any worries when it comes to injuries.
Mm-hmm.
On our end, we already lost Anthony McFarland, which was really tough because he was our running back 3, but we ended up bringing up Quadriolison on and off practice squad, but he's usually only used on special teams. So we don't really know what we're going to end up with doing with Quadriolison. And for anybody that doesn't know, Quadriolison was a Pitt running back that did play with Kenny Pickett. So I kind of wanted him to actually be in the lineup, but I'm not going to get greedy here. But nonetheless, I mean, I think even if they kept both, I think that'd be great. I mean, I do think Najee has a little bit more something to prove type concept here going into the rest of the season. I feel like last season didn't look too good for him. I think both these running backs, if they just kind of blow up at the end of the season, you get Najee 1,000 yards, you get Jaylen Warren 1,000 yards, it might give you a chance to sign both, or having to make that decision between picking one or the other. I hope for the best though. I mean, honestly, I'm really big on Jaylen Warren. I drafted him in like a lot of my fantasy leagues as like backups just in case Najee got hurt. And I mean, heck, he's now projected like 10, 11 points a week now, which, he's probably going to get because I noticed that they were chugging Najee. Then all of a sudden they started just plugging Jaylen Warren in, and then he was getting better runs and getting better receptions and everything. And everyone was like, all right. And then Jaylen Warren started cooking against the Browns. He had like 14 fantasy points. Like he did well. And then last week he didn't do as well. They were plugging Najee more, which was working. But I think you have a good point. I think their running back switch offs right now is working really well. So let's hope that they can keep that up, because we got a game against Houston, which is probably a winnable game, but we don't know how that's going to go. I mean, we just gotta give Stroud that pressure. We gotta just roll with it. But it's 2 young quarterbacks, and we'll see how it goes going into this. So, but when it comes to the Jets, though, you said that you're confident going to the Jets game tomorrow relative, right? Kind of confident,
Uh,
not so confident. I don't know how you.
I have like 15% hope, mostly dread though. Very,
Most.
very dread. Lots of
Well,
dread.
all right. Well, nonetheless, then I was gonna just throw in like what do you think the final score would be? Just going into tomorrow's game, I'll throw my Steelers score out there too. But I want to just hear what your opinion is going into this.
I think it might be about 24-9. 9 being the Jets, 24 being. I mean, you are looking at an offense in the NFL with the Chiefs that has consistently performed, and it's probably the best offense over the last few years in the NFL. One of the better O lines too, so it's going to be a good game. In regards to a very defensive game, but I think the Chiefs are going to run away with it. It might be one of the larger score gaps in Sunday Night Football for the season.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, we'll see what happens come tomorrow night, Sunday Night Football for Jets and Chiefs. For me, the Steelers play at 1 against Houston at Houston. I think the Steelers are going to win that 24-10, just because I don't think Stroud is entirely ready to face a TJ Watt and Steelers defense just yet. And I think we're going to be relying a lot more on our defense again for this game. That's what I just think. I don't know how it's going to play out. I don't know if Kenny Pickett's going to look better or worse, the same or what, but nonetheless, I think it's going to be, a very good game for the Steelers. I'm going to go 24-10, but nonetheless, I mean, Stan, do you have anything else you would like to say before, I go into my spiel here? Anything you want to just throw at me, or any other Jets comments that you have before we close out right here?
I mean, last quick thing, I'm just really excited for that Steelers game. I'm definitely going to be watching that. I have it on Paramount, so I'm excited for it.
Dude, it just makes me happy that you're watching, Steelers football, because like I'm always so excited to just, promote it and stuff, because, it's fun. The Steelers they're a fun team to watch. The fan base is super passionate, and Kenny Pickett, like I said, I know you really like watching Kenny Pickett as much as I love watching Kenny Pickett. So it'll be really cool to see what you think during the game. And definitely, like you said, me and Stan tend to, he'll message me occasionally during like some of the Steeler games he has over the last couple of weeks. So keep that up, Stan. I'll definitely be talking Steelers with you here very, very soon. So yeah, and let me know what you think of the game. I'm sure you'll have some opinions with that too. But yeah, nonetheless, guys. So thank you all so much for watching today's episode. If you enjoyed, please make sure to give us a like, comment, and subscribe. You can listen to us anywhere that you listen to podcasts, so Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. And you can find us on YouTube at No Butts Show. Our social media pages are No Butts _show on Instagram and No Butts Show on TikTok. I'm sorry, guys. This is a weird script for me. I'm not used to this like Josh's. Not my Twitter, but Josh's Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001. And if you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2@gmail.com. That is the number 2@gmail.com. Finally, our spread shop will be in the description, so go check out the merch. Once again, if you like today's video, please make sure to give us a like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, go do something nice for somebody else. Bye-bye.